Day and I'm LaQuita Parks, and I am the publisher and owner of PayProV Publishing. And PayProV means pain, progress, victory, because without pain there is no progress, and without progress there can be no victory. So we help you take your story from a thought to a realization. So one of the things that we do, that I do, is I love to meet new people, and I love to become what's the word I'm looking for? Knowledgeable about things that I'm not knowledgeable of. So we, from time to time, we do different interviews and we meet different people who have a lot of things going on. We typically do a story time, or teaching you how to write your story. Well, today we are going to talk about, I'm going to have the conversation on autism awareness. And because this is April, and April is Autism Awareness Month. And honestly, I don't know a lot about autism, but I have some guests here with me who do. And if you are listening to us, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. And then we're going to have a discussion, and we're going to talk about suffering in silence. And right now, I worked some years ago, I worked in the school system, and I worked with the program for exceptional children. And I had my babies, and one of my little babies' name was Christopher. And he was my baby because his birthday was the same day as my birthday. And I remember working with Christopher, and I remember having to redirect him because he learned differently. And I didn't know a lot then. I was very young, didn't know a lot. But I really, really enjoyed Christopher. So I remember him, and he was diagnosed as autistic. So again, I was the assistant. I didn't know a lot about that. And that's really the only experience that I've had. But I have some friends here today who have much more experience than I do, and I'm interested in hearing what they have to say and their input. And so please, 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 let me introduce or welcome you guys all to Autism Awareness, Suffering in Silence. And so we're going to start with Miss Karen Nance. If you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you for having me. My name is Karen Nance. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have two children, a 27-year-old son and a 16-year-old son who has been diagnosed with autism. And I'm happy to be here and share the journey with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Macia.
I am from Atlanta, Georgia, but I
Sounds like you're...
live in Shorter, Alabama. So I get a chance. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were going in and out. So repeat that again. You can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Macia Money, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but I live in Shorter, Alabama. And I am an educator, so I get a chance to see autism from the education side. And also I have a 21-year-old son who was diagnosed at the age of 7 with Asperger's, which is a form of autism on the spectrum. And so, yes, it is really something that, we need to really be discussing, because more and more children are being diagnosed with it, and a lot of people are suffering in silence. And so this is a great topic to be having for right now.
Okay, thank you. Miss Brandy.
Hello, my name is Brandy. I am the host and creator of the Messy Mommies podcast. And I also have a 6-year-old daughter who is autistic. She was diagnosed at 4 years old. 4, yeah. She'll be 7 soon. So our journey has just begun. Hats off to you other mothers who have 26 and 27-year-olds with autism. I am glad to be here and hopefully learn some things from you guys as well.
Thank you. And Noni?
Hello. As LaQuita said, I am Noni. On my screen it says Mornike. So I forgot about that, LaQuita.
I couldn't pronounce it.
But I have a 23, about to be 24 next month in a couple of weeks, year-old son who has autism, and he was diagnosed at about a year and a half. So we are in the 20s of this thing. So, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me to participate. So
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Arlene White.
Hello, everyone. I am the grandmother of the 23, almost 24-year-old that has autism. Noni is my daughter. And we have been on this journey for a long, long time. And I'm just happy to be a part of this and to speak to some things that may be from the outside looking in and not really being affected as the parents are.
Awesome. So I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to learn. So I'm in the learning seat today. And I think that it's fascinating to me because I've dealt with a lot of things in my life and my childhood that was physical in nature. And so this is not while it's foreign to me, it really isn't, because I know Arlene and I know Noni, and I've seen the passion, and I know Noni through her mom, Arlene. And I've seen, I think the first time we met, I saw her with a t-shirt on, and the t-shirt had the puzzles on it. And I didn't make the connection with autism because I designed a shirt for my mentoring program. And I remember Arlene stopping me one day and saying, "Hey, we had a conversation about that shirt." And she said, that's the symbol for the puzzle. The puzzle is a symbol for autism. I didn't know that. I just did it because my program was all about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. So it was just redefined. It was just growing up, or I forget which program it was, but the t-shirt with the puzzle, I designed it, and I thought, oh wow, I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. So that's when we kind of connected and started talking about it. And I knew a little bit, and still, because I wasn't directly related to it, it was still foreign to me. So I know a little bit from the outside looking in, and you don't know what you don't know, and you don't have until you have to deal with it, then you don't go through all of the channels of researching what this is and what the diagnosis is. So I looked up the definition of autism, and it said a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. Does that sound true, or is that just such a broad definition?
I'm just going to comment. I think it's a broad definition because there are some that can verbalize, they are communicative. There are some that do not communicate verbally. So I think that's kind of broad, because you can have children can have autism, and they can actually be all across the spectrum in terms of communication skills. So I think that's just from because we interact with a lot of autistic children, and you can see for yourself, some of them are very verbal and some are nonverbal, and but even with the ones that have years and years, like my grandson, years and years of speech therapy, they actually learn to become vocal, and they can verbalize what they want. It's just a lot of training and a lot of effort that's put into it. So it's there. It's just a part of them understanding how to verbalize what they want. But there are some that are verbal. So I'm a little for that definition. I think that's not to me, that's not appropriate. It's not appropriate because it's not truly accurate.
Okay. And that's fair. And I did what most people do. I went to the Google.
Okay.
That's how I got my definition. I went to the Google. And so that's what we do. That's the first means of, you go to the Google. If my, and I'm guilty, and there are millions of others who probably are. When you stump your toe and it doesn't quite heal, and you say, I stumped my toe, so you type into the Google, I stumped my toe, it hadn't healed, and it gives you 1,000 different things to do. And then you call the professionals. So you guys are the experts. So I'm wanting you to teach me. And there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are listening today, because we are live. And there may be some people who are suffering in silence, and they're seeing, and they don't know what they're seeing, and some of them don't know what to do, and some people don't want to know, because that means they would have to do something. So I want to ask you, I want to ask all you ladies to share with me the point of diagnosis. What made you say, okay, you know what, something's going on here. Something doesn't seem right, or somebody may have said, hey, did you ever, that's different. What made you say, we need to go and talk to the doctor, we need to get some tests done? What did that look like? And this is totally informal, so you guys feel free to chime in. Whoever wants to go first, you can stop me, interrupt me, throw your hand up. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. So whoever wants to go first. Okay, Noni has her hand up. You're muted. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I thought I unmuted. For me, it was my mom that kind of brought it to my attention. My son had a series of vaccinations. I won't go into my whole feelings about that, but he did, and he got a really, really high fever and got really sick. And then shortly after that, he lost his speech. He was on track, speaking and babbling like he was supposed to be, and then it just stopped. We thought it may have been something going on with his hearing. So when my mom brought it up, his dad brought it up a little bit too, but I just kind of thought, well, he's with me all day. He just does certain things with me that he doesn't do with you. So I just remember my mom saying that he wasn't, she was they were babysitting him and keeping him, and he was not responding when they were calling his name. He wasn't turning his head, or just kind of things she was noticing. And so we went and had his hearing check just to make sure it wasn't some type of hearing loss. And then he talked to his primary care about it. She was very good at Morehouse Medical. And she kind of felt the same things could have been going on. And so she sent us over to the Marcus Autism Center. And that's where they did a whole lot of evaluations, a whole lot of testing. And that's when he was officially, I won't say officially diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed with
Development
PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental delay, because at that age, they're so young, they don't want to label them as having autism at that young age. So they just kind of give you that diagnosis. So that was kind of how that started. and for most, it was very early. Like I said, he was 1.5 years, which is a very early diagnosis. So I would have to thank my mom for being as observant as she was, and being on top of saying, hey, something, just is not seeming right now. So yeah.
When I worked at the Kroger, I'm sorry. When I worked at the Kroger company, I had a chance to do some volunteer with the Marcus Center, and got a chance to see everything that they do, and it's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Arlene.
No, I was just going to say one of the just something as simple as, like she said, I was babysitting, and you know how you're cooking and you open up your cabinet and all the pots and pans and everything come out and it makes this loud noise. So I'm expecting this baby to scream because he was startled, and he didn't make a sound, he didn't move, he didn't jump, and I that was my first indication. Okay, something's not right. So then I would get behind him and take lids and just like cymbals and just hit them together, making a loud noise, and he didn't turn around, and he so those were little things. Yes, I was observant, but once I observed one thing, I just kind of took it and did some other little things that just to kind of see and that's why we went to the hearing test first, because he wasn't reacting. And I'm just going to throw this in because I had never heard of anyone being told by a professional, by a doctor, oh, he can hear, he's choosing not to use his hearing.
Mm.
So he did not have a hearing loss, and he was hearing, but he was choosing, and that stuck with me. I have never heard anyone say that a child was choosing not to use his hearing. I know, especially teenagers, I know, that kids will tune you out when they don't want to hear what you're saying, but that was totally different.
Mm.
And that was very interesting to me, and I never forgot that.
Wow. Wow. So Brandy, go ahead.
I also went to well, I'll tell my story when you're ready, but I also went to the Marcus Autism Center when my daughter got diagnosed as well. She went through Marcus Autism, and our experience, it's baffling me right now, because you said your son is 26 or 24. How old was your son when he got diagnosed?
Oh, when he got diagnosed, he was a year and a half.
And now he's 20 what?
23. He'll be 24 in 2 weeks.
Okay, my daughter is about to be 7, and I'm laughing right now because the stories are almost very identical, identical, and it's been so many years later, So that leaves me: are we stagnant with this, or have we moved forward? Because how can this have a 20-year span, but yet the stories are similar? You know what I mean? So sorry, that just
Go ahead. No, go ahead and tell us your diagnosis story.
Oh, okay. So, much like you guys, we had no experience with autism at all. No one in my family has autism. No one in my husband's family had autism. So no one in our family was experienced. We were not experienced at all. When my daughter hit like 2 and she wasn't speaking, I started kind of thinking something might be wrong. I'm not sure, but something might be wrong. And so, a lot of times she would be around other children, but she would do her own thing. And, us in the Black community, we're not aware of autism. So they'll be like, that girl's just in her own world. She's in her own world, but what is being in your own world, right? And so once she hit like 2.5 and she wasn't speaking, I really kind of started getting concerned, because she wasn't saying mommy or daddy, but she would baby talk, but she wasn't saying any words. So she wasn't mute. She just wasn't saying words. So once she hit like 2.5, I started getting a little concerned. My daughter is what they call high functioning autism. So she is very, very independent, right? And so because she's so independent, a lot of people did not think it was autism. So the process in getting her tested was very drawn out, because they wanted to do the hearing test first. Then they wanted, once she passed the hearing, well, she didn't pass the hearing test the first time because she, just like your mother said, chose not to listen, or chose not to hear that day. So then she takes the hearing test again and she passes with flying colors. So now they're at a point where they're saying, well, she's just severely speech delayed. It looks like she's just severely speech delayed. So we get her in speech therapy. Her speech therapist is saying the same thing. I don't think it's autism. I think she's just very severely speech delayed. And so she's hitting all her developmental milestones outside of speech. And so no one thought that this was autism. So me being her mom, I just felt like it was more, like, it's one of those things when we know something's wrong. We might be in denial and we don't want it to be it, but we know something's wrong. Family is like, oh, she's fine. Just give her some time. She's the only child. She's not around other children. She's fine. Just give her some time, right? In my heart of hearts, I'm like, no. So, we contacted Marcus Autism Center, contacted us. They asked us if we were interested in getting her tested because of our concerns that we had and all of that good stuff. So we got her tested. We spent the whole day at Marcus Autism Center. Like, we went at like 9:00 in the morning. We didn't leave until like 4. So we were there like the whole day. The testing process is just basically a therapist and a couple of other people engaging with her throughout the day and just seeing how she reacts to certain things throughout the day. At the end of the day, the therapist and 5 other people come in and they break the news to you, you know, and as a mom, you know, that's one of the hardest things to hear, because especially a first-time mom, this is my oldest daughter, so especially a first-time mom, you don't want to hear anything is wrong with your kid, right? At all. You want your kid to be normal. Not saying that autistic children are normal, but in that moment, you're thinking something's wrong, you know, because we're not aware of what, at this point, we weren't aware of what autism was, you know? So in that moment, you know, you're thinking something's wrong and you're like, oh my gosh, automatically we blame ourselves. What did I do wrong? Did I do something when I was pregnant? Is it somewhere in the family that we don't know? Like, what did I do wrong? So then you go through that process, right? And so I think after the diagnosis is only a piece of it, right? After the diagnosis, that's when everything falls in, because it's like, what do you do now? Who do you tell? Who don't you tell? It's so many phases that you go through after the diagnosis. That takes time, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing with autism is you have to give yourself time to learn what it is. You have to give yourself time to learn your child and how to deal with your child, because of the autism spectrum being so wide. Every child is different that has autism. Every child is different. And so though my child is what they call quote unquote high functioning autistic, she's not verbal. And then you have some children that are nonverbal, but I mean, they are verbal, but they don't function in other areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you say your definition of it, I think that in retrospect, the definition is so broad because autism is so broad. You can't really pinpoint exactly what autism is because it's so broad in so many different children.
Wow. Wow. You know, we did an interview, the Innovators. I'm a part of a group called the Innovators, and we did an interview on last Sunday with a woman whose son, she said she is 5 years into the diagnosis, and he's high functioning as far as speech is concerned. But she said it only takes just a minute to get around him to see that he isn't high functioning with the sensory, the sound. You can't, he you know, he's like this. And she said when he was little, you know, she would have people, you know, he would be around noise, and she would have people say, you know, you might want to check that up. You might want to follow up on that. And, you know, don't, he likes things in a certain way. Don't bother this, don't get in his face, don't touch, don't hug. So she just kind of went on. And then she said, and a lot of people saw it as a behavior problem prior to diagnosis. So he has a behavior problem. So this is wonderful. Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know that my daughter has autism, not because we don't tell people. I'm very vocal. If you listen to my podcast with Mom, I'm sure you have, I'm very vocal about my daughter having autism, but because she's quote unquote high functioning, there's family members in my family who have no idea that she's autistic. And if you spend enough time with her, you'll definitely know that, you know, she's autistic.
Yes, she's a doll baby though. She's a doll baby. I saw her on Sunday. Doll baby. Miss Karen Nance. I'm sorry, Macia. Go ahead, Macia.
No, I was gonna piggyback on what she just said. For my son, people don't know in the family until they are around him because he is quote unquote high functioning also. His being Asperger is more social. So it's more interacting, knowing what to do, when to do, if something is inappropriate, when you say things, how you ought to respond to things. So you do have, the spectrum is the definition that they have. That definition is just too broad because the spectrum is so wide. And like she said, every single one of them, that's what makes this crazy. Because with Down syndrome or with other different, you know, disabilities or something, you know that child has Down syndrome. You know that a child has this or that, but with autism, it's such a wide range, and so each and every one of them is so different. So has it until I say, or they are around him long enough to see. And that's the frustrating part, because with some kids, you know, people can look at them and say, well, you know, maybe you can look and see the behavior, but with him, you can't see the behavior at all. Even when he was growing up, in a lot of ways, you couldn't see the behavior. And so it became frustrating with him, and it became frustrating with me, because it was like, can you all not see that something is wrong? Or can you be a little more compassionate with him, because there is something wrong? And, it's like, they just took it and looked over it in school, and and he still deals with that now. It's like at 20 something years old, he's still dealing with it. And so like she was saying, it's such a broad definition, and that spectrum is so wide. And I'll tell you about how he was diagnosed. I was always skeptical about vaccinations anyway. So I waited a while to get him vaccinated, because I didn't want to get him vaccinated anyway. And when the daycare and everybody was like, well, he's not going to be able to go to the daycare, and, and different things like that. So I went one day, and he had like 6 shots in one day. And I remember after those shots, his whole demeanor changed. The smile that he had in his face, or the brightness that were in his eye, it was just a whole difference in his whole demeanor, and how he would interact. If there was one little speck of something off, and I'm like, what is wrong? So and I don't know if it's the vaccinations or not, because there's so much that people are saying about it. Could be hereditary, it could be this, it could be that, but there is a lot of research that says that the vaccinations, some people are more sensitive to the materials that they use, or the metals that they use in the vaccines. But when I first noticed the difference in him was that day that he went and had those shots. After that, everything was a different child. It was a different, how he interacted, how he responded to things, like I said, touching, everything just changed all like overnight. And as he went to school, I kept seeing different things. So by the time he was in pre-K, they were saying, developmental delayed or different things, but he was speaking, he was talking, he was doing everything like a normal child. But it was, again, his interactions or not being able to deal with frustration or anger or different things like that. And I went to the school after about 1st or 2nd grade, and I'm like, something is not right, like the mom just said a few minutes ago. That something is just not right. And so I went to the school, and I said to them, I said, something needs to be done. And it was one of his teachers that asked me, had I ever heard of Asperger's? And I went and looked it up, and all of the symptoms that he was having is exactly what it was. And that's when they diagnosed him as having Asperger's. But it's a silent, frustrating place to be, because a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of the school teachers, they don't understand. And when they get in school, they want to say it's behavior problems or different things like that. But it's just the lack of knowledge that they have, and just the attitude that people will have towards them. It's just. It's just hard, it touches our hearts, especially when it touches, when it's your child or somebody that and like I said, with me being a school teacher, any of my children that come in and I see, you just see those signs, and you just start looking, and you can kind of see this is leading towards this, and so yeah, that's how my son was diagnosed.
Wow. Thank you so much. For those of you who are just joining us, we are talking about Autism Awareness, and we are having a conversation, Suffering in Silence. And I have several guests who have personal experiences with autism, and we're talking about the diagnosis story. So Ms. Karen Nance, share your diagnosis story, please.
Sure, thank you. I adopted my son from Ethiopia when he was about 6 weeks old in 2004. So I don't have any birth history information about my son. And when I brought him home, we went through the normal vaccinations. And it wasn't till he was about 1.5 or 2, he wasn't speaking. I went to the doctor and they said, well, boys are slower than girls, so that's normal. And so I was persistent. I had a stepdaughter who was deaf, so we would use sign language at home. And I tried to incorporate that, and he wasn't really receptive to that. And then being persistent, he was in a pre-K program. They said he had oppositional defiant behavior. Then they said he had ADHD. So he didn't get a proper diagnosis of autism until he was 5 years old. He wasn't potty trained till he was 5 years old. And I was going through a divorce. I divorced my husband when my son was about 3. And so in the midst of all of that, he would visit his dad, and his dad would say, oh, no, he's potty trained when he's with me. It's just when he's with you. And I said, but he's not potty trained at school either. He's like, well, that's you and the school. So there were those types of issues that were going on, which was causing additional frustration. When I would take him to Chuck E. Cheese or other, even McDonald's where there were play structures, he would act out. And being Black people, we want our kids to behave, and people would say to me, that's ridiculous. You don't know how to discipline your son. So I found that it was extremely frustrating and isolating just being around my people who were putting blame on me as a parent and saying I wasn't a good parent because I didn't know how to control my child in this environment. And I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with autism either, the diagnosis. So it wasn't until he was 5 years old that I was actually relieved, because I said there is something that I knew was wrong with my son, and now I have a diagnosis. But the work started there. When he started kindergarten, he was hitting, kicking, biting, spitting at the teachers. Most of his frustration was directed at staff and not at other students. And the teachers, even though that was inappropriate, would tell me that he needed to be on medication. And we've made lots of strides. He's now 16. And what I'm facing now is he hates the diagnosis. He struggles with being adopted. He struggles with being a Black man in society, and he struggles with this label of autism because he's a very social person. He was diagnosed with PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. So he's verbal. You'd have to be around him a while to realize that he has some of the symptoms of autism, but he tries to mask it. He tries very, very hard to mask it. So that's where our challenges are now. He doesn't want to be around students, special needs students. He wants to, quote, be normal. He wants to be a normal Black man in society where he is not ostracized for being a Black male, for not being adopted. So I have he has a lot of challenges, and he's in therapy. But the biggest obstacle for him, I believe, if you were to talk with him, he would say he doesn't like being labeled as autistic. So that's been but he's made a lot of strides, and he'll be graduating from high school next year. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. Mr. Brooks is on the line. Do you want to share your autism story with us? Okay, he's muted. Okay, so
Well, how you ladies doing? I appreciate the bravery and the courage in the manner in which you have decided to purposely, with intention, to process, for lack of a better word, the difference in your children and some other children. So I applaud you for that. But I don't necessarily have an autism story. I have a grandson that lives in here in the Atlanta area that was diagnosed with spectrum autism. Uh, and one of the drawbacks of that is that he does not hold a conversation. Now he talks, but he doesn't hold conversation like we are holding a conversation. Now he talks with his mom and his brother, but most of his time is spent on technology, and I'm assuming that that has become his therapy because he's so good at everything that his mom and not even talking about me. I don't know that his brother know about technology. So, but as far as I know, what she recognized, just like you mothers did early, before he was 2, that's something wasn't clicking, and I guess that's across the board with those motherly instincts and being diligent in watching your child and how your child should be functioning. So she took him to the doctor. Uh, he was diagnosed right away with spectrum. And when I say right away, I don't mean the first visit, but it wasn't way over in his life before he was diagnosed with spectrum autism. And so that was new to me too, because uh, to show how dumb I am, the first time I heard the word that he's autistic, I thought they were talking about somebody being able to draw. I didn't know what autistic meant. and I said, I always want to be artistic, but I didn't know what that meant. But nevertheless, the point being is that he is functional. Uh, it's just that he doesn't hold conversation. So that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So this is really fascinating. From what I'm understanding, it's about, first of all, it's about diagnosis, and so now I want to talk about resources. So how what so you got diagnosed, and what did you go through? What was it like for you? I know it's difficult for the child, but the child doesn't really know what's going on with him or her. So what is it like? What was it like then? So we're talking about suffering in silence. We're talking about autism awareness. So I know I heard you say, Brandy, nobody in our family had this. We didn't know anything. I've heard all of you say, you didn't know what it was. So when you got the diagnosis, how did you process it? Noni, I know you had your mom, and I know your mom, and she's a great support. So how did you process it? I want to hear that. I want to start with Karen, because Karen, you adopted, and I've met Karen's son. I have been fortunate enough to meet everybody except for Mr. Brooks. I haven't met your grandson, but I've been fortunate enough to meet all of your children. And I personally, they are awesome. They are awesome. I spoke with Macia's son. I met him. I spoke with him first, and she's right. If she didn't tell me that he had Asperger, I would not have known. Highly intelligent. We had a discovery call about a book that he'd written. Highly intelligent. And my assistant Torian, you guys all know Torian, we were just totally blown away. And Torian was like, "What? He has Asperger?" Just the way that he communicated, the way that he articulated was amazing. I mean, I'm like, Macia, he speaks better than me. And I think I'm pretty smart, you know? So it was just amazing. So I think that I'm loving this. We're having the conversation, autism awareness, suffering in silence. So Karen, how did you feel? what was going through your head? I know you said you were like, "Who we know something," because it's better to know than not know. Some people live in the don't want to know. I don't want to know. So once you found out the diagnosis and you're relieved, like, okay, you know what? I knew something was wrong. Then what was your next steps? What did you do next?
Well, I depended on the school system to be of some assistance, and that was a mistake. We don't have, it sounds like the Marcus Autism Center is amazing. We don't have anything comparable that I'm aware of in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it was like doing this on my own. It was a lonely journey. The school district wanted me to put him on medication just to be calm in the classroom. And he was in a special needs classroom with students with other diagnosed disabilities. And so that was frustrating for my son. And so from, I would say, pre-K up through 8th grade, I struggled academically in the school system. I didn't have any support from agencies locally, and I can't exactly pinpoint why that was. I was a working mom, a single mom, and it was very lonely. And it was very frustrating. It was very embarrassing when he would act out in public, and no one seemed to understand from the time that he was pre-K up through, I would say, high school. I would know people, and he's in high school now, that had children with autism, but we didn't connect. So there wasn't a circle of support. So it was a lonely experience. And so I would try hit and miss different activities, different things. I wanted to immerse him in as many social activities as possible because I'm an older mom, and I was very, very concerned that he be independent, and that I knew that when I'm not here, I know that when I'm not here, he won't have anyone to take care of him. So that was a driving force for me.
Oh, wow. All right. All right. Arlene, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. Okay. How did you know I wanted to speak?
Cause I don't know. I just kind of felt like you did.
Well, your feeling was very, very on time. Yeah, it's very unfortunate that Karen has had to go through what she's gone through, because it is very difficult when you're having to deal with this alone. I know, my daughter gives me prompts about being there to support her, but honestly, I have to give her props, because once she got over, and I think I heard someone say, you go through this feeling of guilt. Did I do something wrong? Was it something that I did? Once you get past that, then, you got to get on top of it, because now your child is dependent on you for everything that they do. Just like everybody else's child, you could not look at my grandson and tell that he has autism, but she would avail herself to all types of information. We're all, in the sports arena, all athletes, all my children and grandkids, they all were in sports. And so that was like almost an automatic. And then the horseback riding, we went through this phase where there was one school, the whole school was just like autistic school. That didn't work. The children there were a mixture of behavior, and my grandson would see them have to put a child in a strap him down in a gurney, and he would just cry to hear the child screaming and crying. And he's a very loving and emotional child. So we mainstreamed him, and he's very smart. And that's what I'm hearing everyone saying. The children are extremely bright. They're extremely smart. And we have to give them an outlet. We have to provide opportunities to find out where their gifts are, where they shine. And we, like I said, JR was in probably any sport and every sport. He actually graduated high school as one of the athlete scholars. They only have 3. He was one of the
Scholar
3.
athlete.
Thank you. Scholar athlete. So he excelled academically as well as in sports. My daughter, he was the first special needs child that we're aware of in our county that actually participated in the band. He was in the performance band, and it was just her determination to make him not feel like he was different. So when they sent out the information to the all the kids, it's like, okay, band, she's like, okay, she's up to the school. I didn't get anything from the band because she was up there volunteering, and she knew that the letters went out to the parents. She didn't get anything. And so they says, well, we normally don't, we don't send that to children with special needs. And she's like, why not? And they says, well, you have to talk to the band director. And of course, she went and talked to the band director. And he says, well, it was a combination of not having the time and the parents not really, understanding and not being. So they worked out an arrangement where, because she was in the band and she, was in all through high school and stuff. So she assisted the band director and helping the kids while he took extra time to get my grandson acclimated. And it didn't take long at all. He learned how to read notes. He learned music. And those were the things that people have to realize. It's just taking the extra time to find out what they need to be able to excel. And now he's an Olympic swimmer. And LaQuita, all the travels we've been doing. Once he started competing, we found out that was his niche. And so he has been a competitive swimmer for I forgot how many years now. And we've been all over the United States. We went to Mexico, and he was actually on the track for the Paralympic swimming games and before COVID. But these children are awesome. They are so special, and we have to do what we can. And Karen, I'm so sorry that people around you that have children with autism not being willing to band together. My daughter is a part of a social skills group, and all of those kids, they have been together for years, and they support each other. We support each other for birthdays and graduations and any special events that these kids have. And so they know, and LaQuita, you're big on your circle. They have their circle. They know who their circles are. They know the people in their circle, and they've gone through schools and activities and graduations and everything together. And that's what's needed. You have to have a support system, because if not, Karen, you made a good point. When you're gone, you have to be concerned about what's going to happen to your child. And that's a very realistic thought. And that's something that I think all parents, regardless of our children are special or not, that we deal with. But that makes it more alarming when you know that your child is special.
When I remember I do a mentoring program, and I do a catch a job training, readiness training program. And I remember one of the young ladies in JR Circle came to my program. I put her through my training program, and she did better than anybody else that's been in that training program. And it's no nonsense. I mean, it's like, you have to complete my program before I would even refer you to a job. And she did it. The resume, everything from completing the resume to doing every aspect of the program. And I remember having a conversation with Noni, and Arlene, I was like, she's autistic? They're autistic? Because it was just, the social skills were there. It was just wow. And it was amazing. So I'm so very glad to be having this conversation, and to hear your stories and how you connect. And you guys, please put your information in the chat so that you can connect with each other. So be a part of this circle. So here's a circle. And yes, I am very big, and all of you know me. I am very big on circles. I'm very big on who's in your circle. I'm very big on connecting people with resources that will benefit and help their lives be better. So here's another circle. So here's another arm of the circle. Brandy.
Let me say, Miss Arlene, thank you for sharing that story and telling me about your grandson, because I'm gonna tell you why. On my podcast, I say this all the time, and you saying you're sharing your story just validated I know a little something. I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that autistic children have a level of genius. that people who are not autistic do not have. I believe that if you take time and tap into whatever it is that your child is interested in, they are probably genius at that, whether it's numbers, it's colors, it's swimming, it's sports, it's working on cars, whatever it is that this autistic child takes to, they are probably going to be a genius at whatever it is. And I say it all the time on my podcast, because one thing I am very firm on is teaching my daughter that her autism is her beautiful, right? And she, so the question was, how do we deal with her getting diagnosed, right? I went through many different phases. So my situation is fairly new, right? My daughter's only 6, about to be 7. When she first got diagnosed, I went through an emotional roller coaster. At first, I didn't want to tell anybody because I needed to just digest myself. Because my situation is fairly new, when it came to academics in school and stuff like that, Marcus Autism kind of already had it all rolled out for us because they have been through this for so many years. You know, our children are 20 some years apart. So by the time it got to me, they had it rolled out on the red carpet, what to do as far as therapies and who to contact and what to do academically. My daughter had just started pre-K when she got diagnosed. And so we had to have what is called an IEP meeting. And I'm sure all you mothers know what IEPs are. When we had our first IEP meeting, I left that meeting and I just lost it. Because one thing about an IEP meeting, especially the very first one, is they're going to tell you everything that your child cannot do, right? And they don't even know the child, but they're going to tell you just based off their diagnosis, everything that your child cannot do. So when we left that meeting, my husband said to me, my daughter's name is Sky. Sky is going to react however we react. And so at this moment, Sky does not know she has autism. So why do we need to treat her like she's any different than any other child? So yes, because she's not going to keep up with the other children in her classroom, yes, we'll put her in an autistic classroom. Thank God for Jesus that now where we are as far as autism, they have autistic classrooms at school. So the school that she went to, they put her in an autistic classroom with children who are like her. Not children who were too severely gone, or it was children that were like her. And so she had little friends in her classroom and she did really well, but she was only at this school for pre-K. So then when she moved on to kindergarten, she had to go to a different school. Now this school had 2 different autistic classrooms. So this school had a classroom that was with children like her, and then they had another classroom for children who had severe behavioral issues. So they were able to keep them separated, right? And so this has been working for her. My daughter does very well at school, though she's not verbal. However, though she's doing well, I'm still going through the emotional roller coasters because I have to have these different meetings and I have to put her in therapy. And now this is taking a lot of my life outside of, being a wife and running my household and working a full-time job. Autism mom, it's a job itself. It takes a lot out of you. You have to put a lot in it, but I do believe you get in what you put out. So if you just let your kid go with the wind and figure it out and trust the school systems to do whatever, your kid is going to probably not get as much education or as fair treatment as if you stay active in this child's life and you on the schools and you stay close to them and you say, I understand my child has autism, but you're not going to treat my child this way. You're not going to be rude to my child. I'm going to stay in communication. I text my daughter's teacher every day. We have text conversations all through the day. How she do today? Did she eat her lunch? She didn't eat her lunch. What she eat? We talk all day because I want them to know that I'm very active in her life and that she's not going through this by herself, so you're not going to treat her any kind of way. So then once I got over the not wanting to tell people that she had autism, it came slow. Then I started telling people slowly, only close people who was around us all the time. Then they're like, okay, that makes sense. So I went through that. Then the biggest thing that helped me was getting into like different support groups. I'm a part of a group on Facebook called Black Autism Moms. And that was the initiation of me getting involved in groups. Like once I got into that group, it's like, okay, it's 15,000 other mothers going through the same thing. So I'm not by myself, and different things that I would deal with her. I would pose the questions in the group. Like I would post a pizza and say, does anybody else child eat just the first bite of every slice of pizza in the box? And then other moms like, yeah, my baby do that too. And that stuff kind of lifts you up because you realize like, okay, I'm not by myself. There's other mothers that's going through this, and how she dealt with it can help me deal with it, and so that's when my process began of healing and seeing, okay, let me get her involved in other things and see. I remember I was talking to Miss LaQuita's daughter, Shantae, about putting my daughter Sky in swimming. And so Shantae was like, well, let's look into it because I might want to put a mirror in swimming, which is her son, and so I think it has a lot to do with how you treat them, and so my daughter is excelling because we don't treat her any differently outside of what we have to do. Like she has to be in this classroom because she's nonverbal. But other than that, we don't treat her any different when she's around other children or anything like that. And so also being vocal and being transparent about my journey with her having autism has been very healing for me as well too. So just living in your truth, it's not a secret. I remember one time my mother said to me, Brandy, so what? She has autism. So what? What does that mean? We're not going to love her any less. She's not, if anything, we love her more. So what? Let's just roll with it, And so after that, I'm like, yeah, so what? And so I haven't, I think like she said, having a support system around you that is solid and that's going to help you and be there for your baby just as much as you are. I think that's very, very vital. Very vital.
Awesome. That is amazing. Kevin, you wanted to add some comments?
Oh, I had to do that, man. I had to do that. I had to come in here with this awesome moms. I love it. First of all, give yourselves a hand. Please give yourselves a hand because you are what we call super moms. We what you call superheroes, all of that. So you don't have to go to no comic strip place, Joe. You're looking at the live super moms right here. And we thank you so much. You guys mentioned a couple things. I wrote down real quickly. Sister Arlene White mentioned something, Brandy mentioned something, but this is so important. Now, I'm looking from the outside as a motivational speaker, as an elder, that we got to do one thing, first of all. First of all, you got to find the talent in your child and promote it. You hit it. You got to do that. That's what we do anyway, right? We do that anyway. So why is that any different, right, with autistic children? Matter of fact, I want to talk about that. Now, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm just saying the autism diagnosis is just that. It doesn't define our children. That's what y'all brought up. It doesn't define our children. So I want people to understand that we fall into that trap. Now, don't get me wrong, the science, and I understand all that, the brain and whatever else goes on there. But the point is we can't define them as that. I think someone mentioned about your son being concerned. That's a good sign. He don't want to be there. So that means he's really not there. Really, when you think about it, just because some doctor, and I'm not knocking that, I'm just saying that doesn't define our sons and daughters. Second of all, we've got to speak the word. You guys mentioned it earlier. You've got to speak the word over your children, right? Tell them how beautiful they are for the women, how handsome you are. Oh, if you're a swimmer, whatever they like to do, promote that every day. If they're eating pizza the wrong way, that's okay. They're eating pizza. That's okay. They're unique. Another thing they got to know that God has made them, has created them to be here. They're here for a reason. I'm just discovering this. I'm 64 years old, ladies, and I'm just discovering that God had ordained me to be here. So for our sons and daughters, no matter what condition that the system says they're in. So we just got to let them know that. We know that, right? We know that as mom and dad. But I want y'all to make sure you tell them over and over how special they are. God has you here on assignment. He just have you on a different assignment from everybody else. And they don't have to be compared to anybody. Ooh, you know that, anybody, because each one of us are unique, right? Each one of us are unique and do what we do. So I'm excited about you guys brought that up, about the fact that you're speaking over your children. They're not in that frame of mind where the system says they are. Also, there has to be some patience, a lot of love, of course, but they're just different, and that's okay. But we don't have to label them in the autistic area. And again, I'm not taking that from anybody. I'm just saying we don't want to run around with a label. That's all I'm saying, because we're not labels. We may have a situation in my life or whatever, but I'm not that. And when they're growing and want to grow, and what I love about that too, I believe God shows up when that happens. God will show up for our sons, for our daughters, and they'll start to get into the area they're supposed to be in. And as they get older, they actually come out. They start that flower, it's like that flower, right? That flower starts coming out, man, and they're looking good every day. So I want to applaud the moms again for what you do, because that's powerful. And I know there's some sacrifice there, no doubt about it. Sacrifice, patience, a lot of love, of course, a lot of understanding, of course, all that, a lot of forgiveness, right? We got to forgive our children. And guess what? I got a lot of beatings growing up. So you just can't spank your child all the time either, right? So even when they're going through some stuff. So I got them for a reason. So thank God for my mama. But the point is, we have to be very patient with our children. They don't, a spanking is may not what they need, right? Or discipline. Obviously, you got to use wisdom, right? But the point is, most of the time, they just need that love and attention and find out what their needs are. So I applaud you again for recognizing that, hey, my child is not like that, what you think. They're really like this, and we have to help them in that area. So I just wanted to share that with you, Sister Parks, because that was so powerful. We must speak into what we want our children to be, because that's who they are, especially when they're beautiful, they're handsome. I think we talked about some swimmers, we got skating, basketball. They may want to, matter of fact, they may want to come up with a new supercomputer. That's good. That's a good thing. Help mom and dad make $1 billion, So whatever their area is, we want to promote that. That's what I'm getting at here. So in summary, we want to promote their strengths and not worry about the weaknesses, that we don't forget them, but we're talking about promoting their strengths. And I believe God will show up and help those other areas. So when they grow and when we're all gone, they'll be able to take care of themselves, and we won't have to worry about that. And that powerful. I know Sister Nance mentioned that. That's very important, that we know that they're going to be taken care of or be able to take care of themselves when we do pass from this earth. So thank you so much, Sister Pi. I don't want to talk that long, but I'm so excited about speaking into the lives of our children, no matter what the conditions are. Thank you so much for that. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those comments. Robert Brooks said, a diagnosis defined the difference, not the destination of the person. Amen. Amen. Noni, I know that you have a great support circle, but once you got past the diagnosis part, then what were your next steps? What did you do next? I know your mom said you guys were all sports people, and I know y'all family.
Yes, you do.
So what was it? You were there with him every single day. So what kept you motivated to keep him going?
Well, first off, we did do a lot of sports, but as someone else, I think Brandy spoke about, immediately it was the therapies. It was the speech therapy. It was the occupational therapy. We did some things. It was the potty training, because he was also a little delayed with that. So I went to Marcus Autism Center for resources on that. And since they had given me the diagnosis, his primary care gave us a lot of resources. My mom found a lot of resources. Emory Autism has an autism center. They had resources. Children's Healthcare, we were doing his therapies there first. So, and then we got involved, like I said, with Special Olympics of Georgia. So he, started with all the sports, but it was the therapies 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, and that was just like Brandy spoke about. It's just, that takes a lot out of a lot of time, because it's not, they don't do it on your schedule. I mean, you have to, they do it on, you have to work with their schedule. So, luckily I had a job that was very flexible at that time. So I was able to get him to those things, but I did have my parents, if I did need them, to take him to appointments and things like that. he got those therapies also in school. I mean, but that's as well as privately, because they work on two different things. So, but it was still just, it was a lot, and with the sports on top of that. So
I want to interject just one thing because I'm gonna have to drop off. Along with what everyone is saying, and I think that the IEP came up as far as schools, and that's very important. But one thing also that has not been stated, and Noni, I know that, I don't know if you want to speak to it, but there's a lot of legal rights that our children have that a lot of us are not aware of. And Noni had an opportunity to go to some conferences within the state, out of state, I think in Florida. And we a lot of times are not aware of what's going on outside of our local government or our local school system. But when you get a chance, and hopefully, you guys will use the contact, but reach out to Noni because your child have legal rights. You have to understand and know those rights, and you have to push the school system to make sure that they are abiding by the rights that your child have. Your child has a right to have someone in the classroom, especially if they're not verbal, to help them with their the work and the curriculum and understanding. So unfortunately, I have to drop, but I just wanted to put that plug in because we've talked about a lot of things related to our children. But if we're talking about, moving forward and helping them be able to do everything and be all they can be, then they have rights. Someone said that there's like millions of moms. There's a lot of children that has been diagnosed with autism, and it is a diagnosis. I think a lot of times we say, well, the child is autistic. No, the child has autism. The child is not autistic. The child has a diagnosis of autism. And thank you, Robert Brooks. We don't let that define who the child is. So the child is not autistic. The child has autism. And with that, I have to drop. But you guys, this is a great discussion. Thank you, LaQuita, for putting this together. I could talk on, but I do have to go. But reach out to Noni about the legal stuff because she has a lot of information on the rights, the legal rights, and she's been to the Congress and with other mothers and other people, making sure that we're fighting for our children to get the rights that they deserve. Okay, and I have to sign off. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arlene. And Noni, and did you put your information? Yes, she put her information.
Yes, I did.
in the chat. And you guys reach out to her and reach out to each other and use each other as a resource for assistance. I know Brandy, your baby is the youngest on the call that we have, but there are hundreds of thousands of people that are listening and they don't know this information. They don't know where to turn. They may be new in getting a diagnosis. They may not know, Macia, that their child has Asperger's and they're high functioning and somebody is labeling it as a behavior problem. So they may not know what to do. Karen, they may not have that support. They may feel lost and alone, and so they don't have to be. So, and you guys, if you're when we did the interview with her name is I forget, but if you guys go back through some of the interviews that I've done, Sabrina Lowry, that's her name, but she said she suffered in silence because it was embarrassing. And she would get calls from the school. She talked about one day she was a principal for the day, and as the principal for the day, she had to suspend her own child, and how embarrassing it was, and how the behaviors and pre-diagnosis. So like you, Karen, you're like, hey, I'm the president of PTA, or I'm sitting on this board and this board, and I'm here and I'm there, and my child doesn't know how to behave. And I can't go to these gatherings because somebody is saying, okay, there's a behavior problem, but there isn't something that hasn't been diagnosed, and they're not being treated for whatever the diagnosis is. So does anybody else have anything they want to add? This has been a really, really great discussion. And I hope if you're listening, I hope that this has been informative. I know it has been for me. It has given me more insight. And I hope for those of you who are listening, when you see a child out in public, I hope that you take a chance and think and and be more compassionate instead of thinking automatically that this is a problem child or this mother doesn't know how to manage her own child or his own child. So I hope that you guys will be a little bit more compassionate and offer a heart and not not some negative or some ugliness.
I do
Right.
want to just say that to mothers listening outside of all of us mothers that are a part of this panel, if you sense in any way that something is wrong with your child at an early age, please take them to get tested or diagnosed or whatever. The earlier, the better. The earlier you can find out and get these babies in therapy, whether it's speech therapy, occupational, ABA, whatever it is that they need to do, get it done and get it done early, because it's only going to help them if you get it done early. Because those therapies are very, very important for children who have autism. They go hand in hand. Autism and therapy, it goes hand in hand. And so I think that if you have any kind of inkling that something may be wrong or something is just not right, go get it tested. Don't listen to people saying, oh, they're just in their own world, or or don't be ashamed either, or don't be scared. Just go get it done, because you want to do what's best. As a mother, you want to do what's best for the child and forget other people's opinions. Just get it done. Get there and get it done. Sky, can you say hi? Hi.
Hi, Sky.
Hey, how are you?
And there's no shame. There's no shame. Sometimes we close the door on resources that could help us and help our children because of shame. So don't be ashamed. It's not about us. It's about your child. And then join a support group. There are so many things you can do. Join a support group. Noni, did you want to add something?
I was just gonna say that once you get the diagnosis, my biggest thing has always been to continue expose your child to everything. Of course, good things, but to everything, meaning and then that was like I said, that was one thing that my mom said kind of came naturally for us, because when I was growing up, my parents, we got a chance, whatever we wanted to try to do, we got a chance to do. They made it happen. Now, whether it's stuck or not, but they gave you the opportunity to at least try whatever you wanted to try. So I feel like our children should get that exact same thing. Find a way. You may have to make some sacrifices, not buy what you want for yourself, and you have to invest in your child. And a lot of things that when we're talking about the sports when they're young, like I said, you can get them involved in Special Olympics activities at your local parks and recs, and those things are free. Everything is not necessarily a cost, but then as they get a little older, some things may, like everything, is gonna cost, but sometimes, you have fundraisers and other things where, it works out. But don't not put them in something because you don't see any other children like them in that program. Like my mom spoke about, there was no children in band in elementary school, and it just was not unacceptable. I mean, it just wasn't acceptable that everybody else in the school got the flyer and, told about the band program, but they did not send that information to my child's class. And all it took was me talking to the teacher, and, he started band in 4th grade and was in it until he graduated. So that was the same thing. He was in karate and a whole lot of other things where all I had to do was go and talk to the coach or go and talk to the person. And since he was not a behavioral, he didn't have behavioral issues, it was just explaining to them how they would have to communicate with him and how he would communicate with them, because he can speak, he just doesn't speak a lot, and he speaks very softly. So as long as there was no behavior issue, or and as long as I was going to be there anyway, So that wasn't a question. I mean, sometimes it was like, well, we really don't have the moms here. Well, I'm gonna be here. So that's just how that's gonna work. And that, it just all kind of worked out. But you do have to make a lot of sacrifices. And again, I would just say, just expose them to as much as you can expose them to, even as far as life skills around the house. I mean, they may not be able to do everything at the same age that you did it, growing up, but, give them chores to do, make them a part and accountable for being in this world, and they want to do things. All kids want to have things and contribute to things, but I think sometimes with our community, we sometimes may look at what they can't do, because we hear all of that, as Brandy said, in the IEP. So you just start to feel like, oh, well, it's all about what they can't do, and they can do a whole lot more, and they just do it on their own time.
I like that. So it starts with the conversation, and you have to be your child's advocate. That's what I'm hearing. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Macia, do you have any final thoughts? You're muted.
Okay, for me, I wish I had have stayed in Atlanta, where I could have had more resources. But what I did was down here where I live in Shorter, Alabama, where it's just like one high school, one middle school, 2 elementary schools. I had to go in, and what I did was I talked to did a whole information, get research, and gave information to the teachers and the principals, so that they would even be aware, because we were not even having autism awareness celebration in April, up until, I just said, look, every year you all are not doing anything. This year you're going to do something, and let me give you this information on what this is. And a lot of the teachers, they are educators, but they did not know. So, even in small areas, you, like you say, you have to be the one that advocate, not just for your child, but for all of these other children that's in this area that, when you're in a small area, a lot of times people are in denial, and, they don't want to deal with it. So you just make them aware of, what it is, and give them the information, and at least you plant that seed, so they'll at least want to, if they keep seeing things and everything, and get that exposure and have that information, then, they at least know, okay, there is something and I need to do something else. And the teachers, as an educator, won't just be labeling those children as behavior problems, or, different things like that, because now that this is a problem that is getting worse. When I did my research, that was about 7-8 years ago, and they were saying by the year of 2020, which, that was last year, males are hit harder, and they were saying.
I think we froze. We froze. Okay, she'll get back on. Karen, do you have any final thoughts?
Yes, just a couple, and I appreciate everything that everyone said, and totally agree. And
Hi.
two things. One is, early on, there were a lot of behavioral issues, and a lot of programs don't want you or don't allow children with behavioral issues. So for those parents out there that do have children with behavioral issues, don't give up. And there are ways to work with your local agency, like the YMCA. I went to the agency or the camp that I wanted him to go to explain what the situation was, and they worked with him. And in fact, when he went to camp, there were problems. It was a residential camp. They were there for 2 weeks, and they called me. It was like 2 days left, and it's not going well. And I said, they asked me for ideas to help him get through those last 2 days. And so that's the one thing, is that just because a child may initially have behavioral issues, it doesn't mean that they're going to always have them. And the second thing is that a support system is great. And I think that without having it, made me a stronger person. So it made me reach out in ways that I probably would not have for myself, but for my child, I did. And so I salute all of you that have that, and that, but even with that, it's a testament to who you are, because even though there are resources out there, you have to take the initiative and hang in there. And so I appreciate all of you, and it's been a great experience. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Mr. Brooks, do you have any final thoughts? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
Hold on one second. Brandy, you wanted to say something?
I do. I just have to share one last thing, because I get asked this question all the time. I swear it's like the $1 million question that I get asked all the time. So let me share this for autistic mothers and anybody who listens to my podcast or who follows me on social media. The $1 million question is, how did I potty train my daughter by myself? So Mom, you probably don't know this, but autistic children, is very hard to potty train them. A lot of them do not get potty trained till they're 6, 7, 8 years old. Some of them are 12. I've seen children that are 12 and 13 years old who are still not potty trained, and they're actually wearing like Depends. So I get this question all the time. Brandy, how did you potty train your daughter by yourself? Here's what I did. All I did, mommies, was put her on the potty every hour on the hour. Okay, that's all I did. And I was in communication with her teachers at school to make sure they were doing the same regimen. Every hour on the hour, put her on the potty. She eventually started going. It took about 2 months, and all of a sudden she just started going by herself. She started recognizing what the potty was for. In the beginning, it was rough because she would just sit there and not potty. And then as soon as she got off, she would go potty. So she didn't put 2 and 2 together what she was supposed to do on the potty. So it took about 2 months to get her right. But that's all I did. Put her on the potty every hour at the top of the hour. That's it. Okay. So I just wanted to share that, because people ask me that all the time. So there you go, mommies.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks.
well, I'm not sure if that has anything to do with autism. I had a brother that didn't know where the restroom was, and he was 12 years old. But anyway, that's another story. I just like to say that the diagnosis is a place of beginning, not an end.
Yes. That's it? That's all you have to say?
That's as much wisdom as I can come up with this late in the afternoon.
Wow, you're usually a person of many words. Now you've been a person of few words, but I'll take it. I'll take it. This has been an awesome conversation. And, you know, I don't know why April, it's just like with so many other things, it's just 1 month where people become aware of these issues once a month. So I think that we should have the conversation all the time, because there are so many people who are going through some things and they have no idea. It's like Brandy, or I think Macia was saying it before she got she lost connection. We see a child with, you know, you see a child with this thing, and they know that this is this. They clearly know this is this. Or this is Down syndrome, or this is this. But then there's autism, and there's so many different levels or different spectrums that it's hard to make a diagnosis. And we have to keep having the conversation. It's like, see something, say something. You know, when you, in your family members, in your friends' children, if you recognize something, nicely, because it's a touchy subject. You know, you can't say, oh, you know what, what's wrong with your child? You can't do that. You can't do that. Have some type of decorum, you know, but find a way, because it's about the child. You know, you gotta be able to trust people. So if you're noticing something in your child, don't be afraid to go and have it checked out. You know, the worst case scenario is they're on the autism spectrum. That's not the end of the world. There is a position to bounce back from. There is something that you can do. There is diagnosis. Macia joined us back. There is diagnosis. There is support. And as Arlene said before she had to go off, there is legal support find out what your legal rights are with your, for your child, and not just in autism, but in whatever it is. Advocate for your child. Macy, I know you got cut off. Did you want to finish your thoughts before we close out? You're muted.
I'm not sure if the phone is my phone went dead. It got hot. And so I'll just say, I got everybody's information, and I appreciate this. And just like I said, you have to advocate in where you are. If there, people don't know, which, a lot of people know now. This was about 8 years ago when I was fighting for it here. But you just have to, where they don't know, you got to give them the information. And just like I said, always advocate for your children and all the children. And that's basically it.
Well, thank you so much. Kevin, you got any last words? Again, we have been talking about suffering in silence. If you joined in, this is Autism Awareness Month, and these ladies and gentlemen have some personal autism stories. They are advocates. They have children, grandchildren who are on the autism scale, and they doing the doggone thing. They are, and their children are amazing. They are amazing in they are geniuses. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here, and wrap us up, close us up, Kevin.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, if you're just listening, you've got a great program today. And ladies, I want to thank you so much. Y'all give yourselves a hand right now. I'm in the background here, but give yourself a hand. All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Also, too, Mr. Parks, I wanted to mention for the moms out there as well, if your sons or daughters need mentors as well, hey, reach out to us as well, okay? Reach out to us through the network there. The Sister Parks will be glad to. I do a lot of networking and mentoring with our young men as well, young adults. So if they need that assistance, let me know through Sister Parks. We'll be glad to work with it. We have women in our network that help our young women out from that perspective as well. We got a lot of professional doctors and people that would love to mentor your son or your daughter in that area of interest. So keep that in mind. If we can help on the mentoring side, let us still do that. We'll check in periodically after mom and dad approves it. We'll go ahead and check in with them and help them out. Anything we need as far as resources, let us know as well. We've got a lot of professional people in our network that will tie into your son or daughter's needs to help promote them. As a matter of fact, we may think about doing some type of what I call career planning, and just exposure to things out there. I just did that with my nephews recently. So we could just expose them to new areas. They want to become a space cadet, if you will. They want to build a plane, maybe. Maybe they want to own a plane. Maybe they want to build an airport. Whatever they say, we can find somebody to talk to them about it. That's for sure.
And hey, and right now, if you're listening to me, and even for the ladies that's on the call, yeah. if you are interested in telling your story or your child's story, send me a message and we can put something together, and I'll be happy to, to publish your stories. We can call it Suffering in Silence. So, send me a message and we can do that. And if you're on this call, if you're a part of this call, you can submit your stories to me free of charge.
Amen. Also, too, while we got about a minute to go, hey, I want to make sure there's anybody online that has a business. Want to put your website out there? It's a good time to do it. Y'all promote your business right now. Y'all got a business website or something?
That's right. Brandy, Messy Moms, put your business on there. Messy Mom Connect with Brandy. She has a blog, Messy Moms. Karen Nance, she is an author, and she is working on her second book, and it is My Father Poisoned Me, or did he? Da-da-da! And Noni got a lot going on. Noni is an amazing advocate. Noni, tell us, what are you doing? What are you doing these days?
These days, I still have my daycare, but I am closed right now for COVID. Probably will be opening back up in the summer. Gifts from God's childcare services, and I am working on a Chair 1 fitness class for people with limited mobility. So hopefully I will be getting that started sometime in May.
All right, awesome. I need to connect with you, girl.
Yes, yeah, I'll definitely be letting you know when I start. So
yes, ma'am. And Macia, Macia, tell us about your colloidal silver business you got going on, trying to keep everybody healthy.
So I make colloidal silver. I don't know if a lot of you've really heard about it, but I just listened to something this morning where a doctor was saying this is something that you could even use to sniff to get into your lungs for the upper respiratory because of what we're dealing with COVID. But colloidal silver is a natural antibiotic. And so therefore you can use it externally, internally for any type of virus, bacteria, or, infection, cut, burn, anything like that. And I make organite generators also. And those are what you use for frequency. So with the 5G and everything, you want to try to keep at bay as much as the 5G that you're coming in contact with. And with the children now being on the computers and the laptops in their laps and everything, they're saying that 5G is going to affect their reproductive organs and, just your organs, period. So these are things that I have been researching, especially what we're going through with COVID and with the 5G. And I just wrote my first book called A World Without Me. And it's focused on all the contributions that we've made as a people and how this world would not be anything if it had not been for us.
Absolutely. And she has an amazing publisher. So you can get A World Without Me on Amazon. You can also pick up My Father Poisoned Me, Karen Nance, off of Amazon. Or you can also visit www.payprovpublishing.com and you can order the books there. So it has been a plump, pleasing pleasure, better than a triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich, having you all here and having this conversation on suffering in silence. Kevin, take it away.
Well, thank you so much. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, all across the globe, you heard it from the best, ladies and gentlemen, some of the best moms and leaders on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. Autism Awareness, and we're excited about you guys sharing this out as well. You guys got the information about how to connect with the women on this network, about their businesses as well. I want you guys to support that, but most of all, share this out, guys. Give them a holler, give them some support as well. Hey, we're going to leave you with this. Remember to always out love, out forgive, and out serve each other. And remember, Jesus is Lord. Y'all wave us out now. Take care now. Bye-bye, everybody. All right. God bless. All right.